this is America believes in agriculture. America believes in extended family. When America believes in the factory industrialism, America believes in a nuclear family. But now that America believes in the computer, the word processor, the typewriter, now America believes in a single parent family. What I'm getting at is many of us think that we do what we want to do in these relationships. Not true. We do what the economy wants us to do. And as you can see, with each change, they reduce the family structure smaller and smaller and smaller. For example, in a farm, in a farm, they both work the fields together. An economic reason to stay together. So that in 1910, 90% of all Black children still lived in a two-parent household. See, there was more than love in these relationships. There was some money involved here. They worked the fields together. An economic reason to stay together. In a factory, man works in factory, woman takes care of children. Economic reason again to stay together. So that in 1960, 80% of all Black children still lived in a two-parent household. You know, the rumor is slavery destroyed the Black family. I tell you, we were still together, not only during slavery, but after slavery. The Depression, 30 years after 1929, 80% of all Black children still lived in a two-parent household. But now we have the computer, the word processor, the typewriter. And now you have women working just as much as men. And now you hear women telling men, I don't need you. Got my own job. Do what I want to do when I want to do it. And now we're down to 38%. Make sure you see the analysis. When the economy changed, the family structure changed. There was more than love in these relationships. You know the number one song in America 3 years ago, Ain't Nothing Going On But the Rent. If you want to be with me, you got to have a J-O-B. It's all about money. No finance, no romance. When the economy changed, the family structure changed. And the other part of this is it's very difficult for a man to be a man with no money. There's a stat that says that there's a 55% reduction of Black men getting married when they make less than $5,000. The brothers know, I can't marry this sister. I don't have any money. There's a direct relationship or inverse relationship between as the money declines, where it really is direct. As the money declines, the weddings decline. So one serious problem is many men don't feel they're a man with no money. And I want to give you a little example of a brother, two brothers, and they both work at GM, and they both make $18 an hour. And all they know how to do is put widget 186 on top of widget 185. But they get paid good money. They get paid $18 an hour. Now, remember what I said. Some men base their manhood on money. No money, no manhood. To be even clear, for every 1% increase in male unemployment, there's a 4.3% increase in wife abuse. I want you to understand the impact that racism and the impact that economics has on relationships. Many men don't even want to get married if they make less than $5,000. Now, we have two men both working at GM, and all they know how to do is put widget 186 on top of widget 185. But they get paid good money, $18 an hour. They both get laid off. Now, the first brother begins to abuse his wife more, begins to drink more, begins to smoke more, begins to do all these negative things. But the second brother goes back to school, learns a new skill, begins to read the Bible more, begins to read the Quran more, begins to read more Black history books. In a scenario, the first brother is now doing 20 years time, divorced from his family and lost his children. The second brother now has a closer relationship with God, knows more Black history, closer to his children, and because he couldn't make a job or find a job, he made his own job. I've often wondered why some brothers sell drugs and other brothers sell peanuts. You make more money selling drugs. But the second brother, who had strong self-esteem, was able to weather the storm. Economics and racism have a tremendous impact on a lot of our relationships. And we have to develop more men to understand that you are still a man, whether you have lost your job or not. Your ability to stay with your children may be a better definition of manhood. Because if this is the definition of man, how much money you make, right now we have a 25 to 40% Black male unemployment rate. We lose too many men if we use this as a definition of manhood. Some other ideas.
That brother broke it down right. I mean, you look at the way right now, you talk to a lot of young Black women, and they are telling you the amount of money a Black man has to make in order to get with them. Yet their boyfriend is a half hustling, don't have any job, don't have anything, living off her. You know, it's just like we've allowed those societal ills to permeate everything about us, which is why we don't pass anything good onto our kids. That's why half our kids, like this man is talking about. What did that man do? He went back to school. I came up in the industrial part, but mine was straddling. It was going from industrial to technological. All right. So when I got out of high school, I got a job at this chemical plant. And like the man said, I was making doggone good money, but then I got laid off. Okay. Now, when I got laid off, I'm hanging around all my friends. They're all laying around doing absolutely nothing. I said, forget this. I had to sign myself up into school because I couldn't sit stagnant. Okay. Now, don't get me wrong. I didn't finish school because I ended up getting what I needed, a job, because I happened to see a posting for a civil service exam. And because I knew enough to go to school and get as much education as I could, I was able to pass that exam. I know a lot of people, brothers just like me hanging around, could not pass an exam. But because I went back to school and kept that memory thing fresh, I was able to do that. Where a lot of my friends, the people I hung out with, they couldn't. They couldn't even fill out for an exam. They wouldn't know where to start. And so that's the difference. Yeah, I got laid off, and they certainly laid me off. I got laid off. I needed to live. And so, you know, I need, if I couldn't get anything that moment, I took my butt to school to make sure that I could get something better down the road, and I wouldn't be subjected to ending up with minimum wage jobs and stuff like this to end up like that dude. I mean, if you are a man and you don't do anything to better your life and you end up with a minimum wage job that can't feed your family, you are on your way. And I hate to say it like this because it's stereotypes, but it really isn't. This is any race. But you are on your way to having those type of arguments in the house where you're going to start laying your hands on somebody unless you just that principle where you just don't hit women. But you start letting that stuff get to you, you become an alcoholic, you become a drug addict, you become abusive. And like that man say, now that brother doing 20 years in prison. And that is exactly how that cycle works. I watched my friends do that, watched them fall through the cracks. And thank God my mother, that be persuaded by your own thoughts, be persuaded by your own mind. I thank God that that thing was there for me, because I didn't sit around and wait like my friends did and do nothing and just get high from sun up to sundown. You know, I had to go out there and do something for myself to make sure that down the road I had myself a life. That's important. How we handle certain downfalls, like losing a job, stuff like this. How we bounce back from that is what the struggle is about. It's about bouncing back from it. And that's what I told my daughter. If you let trouble beat you, then you already beat. You got to learn how to switch that around, beat trouble, and then use it as an example of where you are strong, knowing your strength, knowing what that test meant for you. So we got to stay on top of that. Other than that, we're that first guy. And you know how many black men are that first guy and how many black men are that second guy? There are more first guys out there than there are second guys. And that's why these prisons are full of us, because we think, once again, that anger and quick money and all this stuff that goes with that, we think that's the stuff that to go into. But every last one of those things puts you in prison. So thank God for the example. That brother was right. That other brother, he found Christ, or the Quran. He found, Allah. He got himself an education and went out there and bettered himself for him and his family. That's a man. That's a man. So yeah.